The Minister of Defense, on a visit to Kuje prisons earlier today, confirmed that more than 60 Boko Haram fighters who were in custody there had escaped following last night's terrorist attack on that facility.
Certainly not the first attack of this nature on a prison harboring terrorists in recent history of Nigeria, but this one, to all intents and purposes, carries with it a demoralizing sense of foreboding, coming at a time when the country is only a few months away from critical elections. And President Muhammadu Buhari has responded to this heightened threat in a tweet. A few hours ago, he says, and I quote, "By the attack on the medium security custodial center Kuje, I am disappointed with the intelligence system. How can terrorists organize, have weapons, attack a security installation and get away with it? I am expecting a comprehensive report on this shocking incident." End quote. Hello and welcome. This is Newsnight. I am Adesua Omorwan. And I am Amachree Walker. Our special coverage of the Kuje prison attack starts now. The Nigeria Correctional Center says more than 443 inmates of the medium security custodial center Kuje, Abuja, are still at large following an attack on the facility, where the attack, which was carried out by suspected terrorists, led to the jailbreak of 879 inmates. But as at press time, 443 have been rearrested by security agents after a manhunt was launched. Arise security correspondent Ferdinand Droha tells us more.
Rearrested inmates of the medium security custodial center Kuje are returned to the facility. Officials say over 443 are still at large after the attack and jailbreak. Considering the profile of some of these criminals who are terrorists, there is enough reason to worry. A look at the external view reveals the horror of what happened. Burnt vehicles, including buses used to convey suspects to court, and other utility vehicles litter the premises, some still smoking. While none of the officers of the center will speak on camera, we were told tales of how a first wave of attack orchestrated through this hole at the back of the building was foiled by gallant officers. However, the terrorists reinforced and made a bold entrance, blasting through the main gates. The casualties of the attack: a security agent and 4 inmates. Forensic experts are also seen trying to piece together evidence to help reveal the identities of the attackers and the kind of ammunition used. The facility also welcomed government officials who came to see things for themselves, including President Muhammadu Buhari. He was given a tour to see the destruction firsthand. Some speak to the media.
Everything is under control. The people who came to do these activities, from the records, we believe that they belong to a particular group, and most likely they are Boko Harams, because we have sizable number of Boko Harams that are in detention, and presently we could not locate any of them. All the number, I think there are about 64 that is in the prison, and none of them now is available. They have all escaped.
Well, basically, I came in this morning to commiserate with the Comptroller General of the Nigerian Correctional Services and his colleague of the Nigerian Civil Defense, as well as His Royal Highness the Gomo of Kuje, over the incident that happened yesterday, and also to commend the gallant officers that tried their best, and also to sympathize over the death of a very fine, gallant officer from the Nigerian Civil Defense Authority who was gunned down by the criminals.
Residents of Kuje community gathered in different groups discussing their experiences of a traumatic night. The medium security custodial center Kuje is the most prominent government facility in the local government, and they want it adequately protected.
It was actually terrible. At about 9:30 to 10, I got a call from a friend. We were talking, and prior to that time, I was on headset, Bluetooth headset, so I was dancing to music, but I heard a lot of noise. I thought it was these fireworks and all those Vanguard and all of that. So when I got the call, I dropped it and I started conversing with my friend on the phone. And I told her, okay, see what's happening. It's like they are shooting outside. So I went close to the window in the parlor and I put the phone on speaker. Can you hear what's happening? Then the next thing I heard was like a loud bang. And it shook the roof, it shook the windows. I had to run into the room. And then I knew this was serious. And that was like, let's say 10 o'clock at night, 10 p.m. yesterday.
But basically, it all boils down to the ineptitude in the system. Our security system has been compromised. And along the line, there has to be an holistic overhaul in our security apparatus. I repeat, there has to be an holistic overhaul in our security apparatus. Because if this kind of a thing can happen in a place as sensitive as Kuje, it means nobody is safe.
While the attack at the facility in Kuje, one of the most secured in Nigeria, leaves a sour taste, it comes on the heels of previous ones in Imo, Kogi, Edo, and Oyo State. However, it is expected that following a first-hand inspection by the president, there will be enough political will to ensure that correctional facilities in Nigeria are adequately secured. Ferdinand Duroha, Arise News.
Well, thank you, Ferdinand, for that report. And Special Advisor to President Muhammadu Buhari on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says the president will embark on his international engagement despite attacks on his advance convoy to Daura yesterday, which left 2 people injured. Adesina made the remarks on Wednesday while briefing State House correspondents after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting. He says the president will not give in to terrorists and he will not jettison his international obligation. President Buhari today left Abuja for Senegal to participate in the International Development Association for Africa Summit in Dakar. He is expected back tomorrow.
The president himself is billed to travel to Senegal this afternoon for an international conference. He will return to Abuja tomorrow and thereafter proceed to his hometown Daura for Salah. So it was the advanced team that was going ahead, made of security, protocol, media, transport, all the departments that have one or 2 things to do with the president's stay and comfort in Daura were the ones going ahead. So shortly before they got to their destination and landed around Dusima area, you know that place is awash with banditry. So it was said that some group of bandits came out of the forest and engaged them. You should never give in to terrorists. The moment terrorists begin to stop you from doing things, then we might as well throw up our hands in surrender. The president should go ahead.
Well, let's dip in the discussion now on the prison attack as 2 security analysts, Dennis Amachree, who's a former deputy director of the DSS, and Seyi Adetayo, a security consultant, join us now on the news. Thank you both, gentlemen, for being on the news tonight. Let me begin with you, Dennis Amachree. From Owerri to Kogi, from Edo to Oyo, and now to Abuja, what is making correctional facilities in Nigeria prone to these attacks?
Thank you for having me tonight. And, like you said, right from Owerri to Benue to Kogi, and then even the Kuje prison attacks, all were reported. The intelligence was given to the prison authorities about the imminent attacks. And then apparently nothing was done. And I'm happy that the president is now asking for a full investigation into what, actually happened. Because after all these reports, there was also another report recommending that the prisons, upgrade their infrastructure as per the layout as per the design, as per the age, even the maintenance. But I don't think the other prisons, including this particular highbrow one, are keeping to that. Because I don't see a tower. There's a tower right there, but are the towers fully manned? Are the lights working to watch over the prison premises? And the walls are so thin. You can see where they blow and then went into the premises. It's just blocks put on each other. Prisons are not built like that. Prisons are built with reinforced concrete at a particular height, covered with concertina wiring. So I don't think we have been following the rules. We have to benchmark with other facilities like this, and then, of course, do the right thing.
Right. They would say this is a medium correctional facility, and of course, the criteria for the fences are quite different. But we'll have the opportunity to really talk about this much later. But let's talk to Seyi Adetayo right now. Seyi, looking at the fact that not too long ago, University of Abuja saw some sort of attack where some lecturers got kidnapped and all of that, and now Kuje, a correctional facility with close proximity with the Abuja International Airport. And according to the Minister of Defense, he's saying all the Boko Haram terrorists in that facility are nowhere to be found. They're not accounted for. Would you say Boko Haram is getting emboldened by the day? All right, it seems like we cannot get Seyi Adetayo. So Dennis Amachree, I want to actually direct that question to you right now since we do have you here. We're talking about all of these attacks. Yes, earlier on you had spoken about attacks, particularly on correctional facilities. But I want to bring it back home to the nation's capital, Abuja. Of course, we've seen the APC administration say, even though terrorist attacks are not, alien to Nigeria, but here in Abuja, they've been able to put that at bay. But that seems to be changing. So would you say that this shows that Boko Haram is getting more audacious and emboldened?
I agree with you. That they are emboldened. When you look at it, the whole idea is to run over Abuja. And they are making incursions. In the past, they've gone to bomb the United Nations office. And coming in there and doing this kind of thing. In fact, this particular attack is significant in the sense that I cannot see how they could have successfully, passed through all the checkpoints that we have, come in there, successfully attack and break into the prison, collected their friends and comrades, and then disappear. So I think they're being emboldened, and I think it also shows a bigger capacity because it looks like they have the capacity to do a lot of things. Maybe because of their affiliations with outside terrorists like ISWAP that is operating around the same area.
Minister Amachree, I hate to interrupt you, but we have some news just in. The Islamic State in West African province, otherwise known as ISWAP, has just claimed responsibility for the attack on Kuje prison in the nation's capital, Abuja. In a footage on Wednesday night, the terrorist sect showed some of its men shooting their way into the facility. Tens of fighters were seen marching in groups while vehicles and the building was on fire. And Dennis Amachree, I mean, that probably highlights the point Amaka was trying to make on your response to her question, the terrorists being emboldened. And, we can't really divorce the general existential crisis of security away from what we are seeing in these prison breaks. But let's talk about the president's statement, and if our producer can pull it up again, in what seems to be perhaps one of the strongest statements we've seen from President Muhammadu Buhari so far. He directly says he's disappointed with the intelligence system and expecting a comprehensive report on this shocking incident. I've never seen the president talk this way about his agencies, saying he's disappointed in intelligence. Dennis Amachree, what does this really say about intelligence gathering? These men come prepared and they are unrepelled for hours. They're able to carry out these attacks. What should Mr. President be doing next?
I think some people have to be accountable for what has happened, you know. Like I mentioned earlier, the intelligence agencies were on top of it. They also gave out that intelligence about the imminent attack. But the prison authorities have played down on this kind of reports. And then, of course, I'm happy that the president is now asking for a full investigation into it to see who dropped the ball. Because these things keep on happening from Owerri to Benin to Kogi, all over, until we're about eight correctional facilities have been attacked, including this one.
Right. Well, you have just highlighted, your thoughts there. But you know what? This is not the first time Mr. President will give some sort of matching order, because let's not forget, in recent times, he's actually giving major matching orders. Well, Shay joins us again now. Shay, listen, let me direct this question to you. Do you agree with Dennis Amachree, who's saying, you know what, the president might just come up with some sort of action? Do you expect some sort of shake-up in our military hierarchy? And do you think that some heads will roll after this audacious attack in the nation's capital? You think?
Well, I might as well be shocked if I see heads rolling, because it's not characteristical of this government to fire people. You can count the number of people that have been fired over issues like this. The president might know better. I can also confirm from what you said that ISWAP claimed responsibility. I've just watched ISWAP press release. I've watched the video. ISWAP screened the video of the attack, showing how they blasted the wall, how they were setting things on fire. It's right now on social media. They're so audacious and so bold as to carry this out, and also to show the world that they did not only carry it out. This is how we carried it out. So that Ed will roll. Even if Ed rolls now, it's not going to solve anything. It's not going to solve anything. There are critical issues that must be addressed. Up to this moment, we are not addressing those issues. Go to all the prisons in Nigeria today. There are cell phones in the prison yard. How are the cell phones getting there? Both for the VVIP and non-VVIP, they have access to phone. I can guarantee you that this attack was coordinated right from inside. Those people, they have access to communication, and they are able to communicate with the people outside and plan this effectively, knowing well when they are going to change over duty, knowing the best time to attack. Mostly, period like this when there are festive season. This is important. We become serious in this country. Everything is not about religion. If you want to be religious, get out of our military system, get out of our security system. You cannot make a place that's supposed to be secure less secure because you are trying to celebrate. Or look at the beginning of Boko Haram attack, Bauchi prison attack. It was during festive and religious prayer. Look at the one in Abacha Barak. It was during festive and religious festivity. They know that when it is time for religious festivity in Nigeria, it is either half or one quarter of our security forces will take pass to go and leave that period. By reducing the number of men on ground. Even those on ground, they are so much enmeshed in the festive period that even the people supervising them have gone out to go and shop or buy things for the festival. This is becoming one attack too many. It is following the same pattern. The best time to attack any Nigerian facility is during festive period or prayer time. People who are carrying arms will put their arms down and the place will be less secure. That is one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that Why is it that every time prisons are attacked in Nigeria, we've never read that at a particular point in time, the armed squad of the Nigerian Correctional Service repelled.
Aditayo, we seem to have lost connection with you once more, but thank you for your contribution so far. Dennis Amachree, to you. I mean, you listen to Sheyi say certain issues need to be fixed. So how do we make the correctional facilities more secure? I mean, given your own experience, is it just about having enough man on ground to repel these attackers, or building the right fences, as you mentioned earlier? What will make these correctional facilities more secure?
Okay, facilities like this are built with crime prevention to protect, criminals from having access. And then you find out that if we are going to secure the place, we have to either remove the location entirely. You can see that the prison is right inside the town, where next door, either there are houses or people, and the streets are right there, I think locations like this should be isolated locations that are, situated in such a way that they are defense in depth. That means there will be barriers upon barriers before you get to the very meat of the whole thing. If you want to see an inmate, it will be very, very difficult for you. That is the physical security part of it. And then, of course, you have your high walls. That wall that they are showing right there, you can see, is just one cement block. It should be concrete cast blocks. And of course, at the right height, whether it is maximum or minimum security, a correctional facility is a correctional facility designed to keep people in and not for them to either escape. Now, another thing that you do is to make sure that the vehicles that are coming in and out of that place are seriously interrogated. Because, like Sheyi was mentioning here, most of these prisoners have cell phones with which they are communicating from outside, either planning crimes or planning on how to escape or planning on when to know when the security people are at their laziest period. So I think there are a lot of things to do, but it has to be defense in depth, whereby you don't easily reach out to those places.
So what you're saying in essence is correctional facilities should not be placed close to residents and the rest, and it should really be protected. Gentlemen, these are quite troubling development. Of course, they say this terrorist operated unchallenged for about 3 hours. But I would have to say thank you so much to you, Sheyi Aditayo, a security consultant, as well as Dennis Amachree, who is a former Deputy Director of the Department of State Services. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Well, it's time for a short break now. Plenty more still ahead, including
of 2 hours that has turned to 100 harrowing days. The terrorists.
It's exactly 100 days since the abduction of the Kaduna-Abuja train passengers. Families of the victims yet again plead for their release. Plus,
would you remove subsidy?
We have to look at it critically.
Would you remove subsidy?
Remember what I said? Yes and no. We have to study. I will remove it, but I have to offer them what would be equivalent.
Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi vows to remove fuel subsidy. Details after this quick break. Do stay with us. Well, thanks for staying with us. You're still watching News Night here on Arise News with me, Amaka Udewalka.
And I, Adesoa Omoruan.
And let's take a look at some more security stories now. Well, families of the kidnapped Abuja-Kaduna train passengers have intensified their plea to the federal government and relevant agencies to hasten the release of their loved ones in captivity. During a peaceful protest in Kaduna State to mark 100 days since the abduction of their loved ones, they say only negotiations can secure the freedom of their loved ones from captivity. Well, our News correspondent Nisi Gabriel tells us more.
It's been 100 days of sorrow, torture, and pain for the families and those kidnapped on the ill-fated Kaduna-bound train. Amid reports that those in captivity are suffering from gunshot injury and snake bites, grieving family members took to the streets of Kaduna to protest and demand that their loved ones be released from captivity.
Today is exactly 100 days since our loved ones were abducted in the ill-fated AK-9 train attack. It was a journey of 2 hours that has turned to 100 harrowing days. Since these 100 days, things have not been the same with us. One can only imagine what our loved ones have been going through in these last 100 days in the deep forest. You know, the same clothes, no clean water to drink, no medical care. A lot of them are sick. One has even been shot.
Amina was among the 11 people recently released by the terrorists after a series of negotiations with the federal government. Her experiences are unpleasant, and it's the same or even worse for those still in captivity.
I spent 74 days there. To spend 1 second in that place is not easy at all. You don't want it. We will wake up crying. It's not easy. It's not easy. Please, they should help. Some people have lost their sight. Some lose their hands. So many things there. So many things. The children are all sick, sleeping under the tree with rainfall, grasses everywhere. We sleep on the floor. After rain, you understand, after the rain, we will still lie down on the floor and sleep. It's not easy.
Relatives and friends of the kidnapped train passengers are calling on the federal government to intensify negotiations with the terrorists to secure the release of their loved ones.
We are calling to the federal government, let them go into negotiation with these people, because using force cannot solve the problem. Negotiation is the best, because through negotiation, these 11 people were released. Let them continue. If they say they will use force, there's no way.
The terrorists have made their demands known. Not all of them have been fulfilled by the federal government. For now, 11 of the kidnapped train passengers have been released, with 50 of them still in captivity. Nisi Gabriel, Arise News, Kaduna.
15 out of 63. That's a very low figure. We need to hasten the return of these family members, honestly.
Indeed. Well, reports from Katsina State say more than 13 people have sustained varying degrees of injuries from a suspected bomb that is said to have been mistakenly dropped on their community by an Air Force aircraft on Konkonan Bayan Dutsi community in Safana local government area of the state. Many of the casualties, who are women and children, are receiving medical attention at the General Hospital in Dutsima. The people in Konkuma Bayan Dutsi community in the local government area say the incident occurred around 11 p.m. on Tuesday, shortly after bandits on motorbikes passed through the community. Well, efforts by Arise News to get details from the Nigeria Air Force in Katsina proved abortive, as the commander was said to have gone to Abuja, and the Katsina State Police Command says they are yet to get details of the incident. And some news just in and clarification. The Nigeria Air Force says the community affected was harboring insurgents and they were trying to clear the area. And that's the news we're getting, the clarification from the Nigerian Air Force.
Absolutely. We're absolutely appreciative of that update. And of course, I do know that our correspondent, Awal Ibrahim, is looking into the story. So we'll get more details to you as soon as they come in. But let's come back here to the nation's capital and let you know that the wait is over as President Muhammad Buhari today assigned portfolios to 7 new ministers to fill the vacuum left by some members of the federal cabinet who resigned to seek elective office. Our State House correspondent Adeswa Morwa here has more details for us.
Preceding the swearing in, a minute silence in honor of the outgoing Secretary General of OPEC, Mohammed Barkindo, who died on Tuesday evening, hours after meeting with the president. Then to the business of the day.
I, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
In 2 batches, the 7 confirmed ministers take their oath of office.
I, do solemnly swear that I will.
While assigning their portfolios, President Muhammadu Buhari charges them to serve the nation diligently. And in a surprise move, the president also announces the reassignment of portfolios of 4 ministers. Coming at the home stretch of his second term, the president says more work still needs to be done in diverse areas of the economy and national life.
You are all coming on board at this time with new energy, ideas, experiences, and vigor to join the existing team so that the implementation of policies, programs, and projects associated with these electoral objectives would be escalated and accelerated.
The new ministers and their portfolios are Ikechukwu Iko, Minister of State, Science and Technology; Umana, Minister of Niger Delta Affairs; Udi Odum, Minister of State Environment; Ademola Adegoroye, Minister of State Transport; Umar Ibrahim El Yakub, Minister of State Works and Housing; Goodluck Opia is the Minister of State Education; and Ikama Ekumanakama, Minister of State Health. Meanwhile, in a cabinet reshuffle, Senator Adeleke Mamora is reassigned as Minister of Science and Technology, Muazu Jaji Sambo, Minister of Transportation, Sharon Ikeazo, Minister of State for the Niger Delta Affairs, and Senator Gbemisola Saraki is the Minister of State, Mines and Steel Development. There was also a note of warning to the cabinet members.
You must resist bad counsel, resist temptation, and be circumspect in your utterances and conduct. You must totally eschew corruption and be above board, because if caught, there will be no sacred cows.
With less than a year to the expiration of the administration, the president is hoping the cabinet changes will help reinvigorate certain sectors where the government desires to accomplish improved results. Will this be the case? Nigerians await the outcome. Well, Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi maintains that Nigeria's implementation of fuel subsidy is a scam, while emphasizing his resolve to remove subsidies. Mr. Obi was speaking earlier today on our morning show.
I've never been against stopping of subsidy.
Can you convince Labour?
No, let me tell you, we will do it properly, because if you audit what we are importing and consuming, there's no way it will be this amount. And you have to convince people. Let me tell you why people are against removal of subsidy. People are against removal of anything because whenever it's been done, they did not see the benefit. We did privatization. We didn't see the benefit. What we did is that we privatized profits, socialized losses. We did everything we've done. We did other things here that have been done everywhere. If you say you're going to remove this, what are we getting here? The problem you have in Nigeria is that they've removed this, nobody got anything here. So we are going to do it in such a way that it will be transparent. This is the amount of our importation. This is the amount we are going to spend. And if we reduce it or do this, this is what you're going to get. And you deliver that, people will believe you. I've been able to return schools in Anambra State or do things that when I was doing it, people say, no, you cannot do it. Have you go and watch what my former head of service wrote? Stinginess as a strategy of development. He showed how I cut the cost of everything and showed what I used it to do. You must not come and say, we're going to remove this. What are we going to get as a remove? Because of mistrust. Because the whole thing has been embedded in transaction and stealing of, so people don't want to hear it. But you cannot spend that amount of subsidy when your health, education, and pulling people out of poverty suffering.
So you remove subsidy?
Well, like I said, everything has to be, if this is going to happen, this is the result.
Would you remove subsidy?
We have to look at it critically.
Would you remove subsidy?
Remember what I said? Yes and no. We have to study. I will remove it, but I have to offer them what would be equivalent of what we are removing.
So your answer on subsidy is yes and no?
Yes.
And
yes.
No. Would you remove subsidy?
Yes, but because because I'm going to use the resources to do something that will benefit. But if I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to remove it.
Okay.
You must be able to offer something in replacement of what you're trying to do.
Presidential candidate of the Labour Party there, Peter Obi, a little earlier on our morning show. Now to some judicial stories. Justice Iyang Eden Ekwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja on Wednesday ordered the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, to immediately release biodata of David Upo to the Attorney General of the Federation, the AGF, for onward transmission to the United Kingdom Court. The court issued the order following a request by NIMC and in response to the request of the detained former Deputy President of the Nigerian Senate, Ike Ekweremadu, who is facing trial with his wife, Beatrice, in the United Kingdom. Although the court had on the 1st of July ordered NIMC to release the said biodata to Ekweremadu, NIMC did not obey the order. Rather, the Commission asked the court to order the release of the biodata to the Attorney General of the Federation.
Newsnight returns with more stories after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Newsnight. In a bid to ensure victory at the July 16th gubernatorial polls in Osun State, southwest Nigeria, the People's Democratic Party's Reconciliatory Committee for Lagos and Osun States has submitted an interim report to the National Working Committee of the party in Abuja. A former gubernatorial candidate of the party in Ondo State and chairman of the committee, Eyitayo Jegede, expresses confidence that the party will emerge victorious in the upcoming poll, following the truce brokered among party stakeholders in the state.
We are hopeful that the two parties have agreed that they were going to work together for the interests of the PDP. We were also able to extract commitments from all the sides that the only way to achieve success is if we have a united front. That united front, by the grace of God, is what we have worked on, and we also have recommended that the National Working Committee should also follow up and show more interest in what is happening in Osun State, because Osun State is doable for the PDP. In fact, the majority of the people in Osun State are expecting that come by the days of God, 16th of July, the APC government will exit the government house.
Even though there is no election in Lagos, since part of your assignment is Osun and Lagos, I want you to take this opportunity, just like you did Osun, to hit the ground in Lagos. I believe this is the type of expectations we will want our members of various committees that have been settled with various assignments from this NWC. So, once again, thank you very much.
and a man with what some would call the toughest job as it stands right now. Eitar Jagade, the chairman of PDP Reconciliation Committee, joins us now in the studio to really have a conversation. Of course, it's not restricted to Osun State, but also to Lagos State, talking about your committee. But we'll get to Lagos. But let's focus on the fact that your committee was inaugurated barely 8 weeks ago. And so far, going by your reports that you submitted today, at least part one, like you called it, you say you've been able to get the two warring factions to sheath their sword and actually chart a way forward. Do you think that will be enough to really, get the victory in Osun State?
Well, I think that is important and it is key. I come into this with a lot of experience because I've gone through it before. I was a candidate in Ondo State, and I know that we had issues, problems, internal problems. And I've always said this, that APC is not capable of defeating PDP. It's only PDP that defeats PDP. So if you are united and focused, and you identify who the adversary is, it is easy to win an election. And in Osun State, it is quite achievable, it is doable, because the people are there and they're ready and they're willing to support the PDP. So I believe that a cohesion of the contending forces and a clear focus can make a lot of difference.
Despite the fact that you're going up against an incumbent?
Well, there's nothing new about an incumbent. In your state, we had incumbents, and then Governor Sheyi won election. 33 local government, it was able to rake in 29 local governments. There's this hype about incumbency. Incumbency, yes, it comes with a lot of advantages, but does not mean that an incumbent government cannot be taken out.
Yes. It's interesting that you have this view that only PDP can defeat PDP, and you yourself have had a personal experience.
Oh yes.
So, because when you look at the issues in both Osun and Lagos states, they have a common denominator, and that's the primaries that were conducted.
Sure.
So, what does that say about the PDP's internal democracy, and what does it say about the ability of a party to produce leaders?
Well, I think it's only when you have a viable party that is capable of winning an election that you have such contention as you have within PDP in Osun and in Lagos. And again, it has to do with our readiness to also accept where there's a defeat and move on with what is left. The truth of it is that the PDP runs a democratic system, and there are also internal mechanisms. That does not stop those who are hurting to ventilate their grievance. And some do ventilate it softly, some ventilate it violently. And in both cases, it has its effect on the party. It is not the fault of the leadership of the party. It has to do also with our readiness to concede and say, look, there's a defeat. And even where you think that there's some little bit of unfairness, you wait and fight another day.
Right. I just wanted to ask you, what has happened to the Wale Ojo faction in Osun State and the court cases? Is everyone out of court?
No. We're trying to ensure that the parties who are in court step out of court. That is a process. And the other side, the side that is in court, will also want some concessions given to them, which is fair. Now, the other side also wants all those cases pulled out. Now, you have to manage it properly. And what we have done is to extract concession on the part of the two contending forces, that no matter what, at this point in time, let's be focused on winning the election. The courts are there to resolve differences. But because under the PDP constitution, there's a grievance procedure, you allow the party structure to resolve the differences. Where they cannot, you can proceed to court. But in the instant case, yes, people are in court even before now. As we speak, there are matters that are there that are on appeal already. But then in principle, you can see that parties have slowed down in respect of litigations. And then, because it can be a distraction. You go to court today, you say you don't become friends after you have gone to court. But the truth of it is that you have to balance the two.
Okay.
Yes.
Balancing the two is quite important. And you know what? Let's really stick with Osun for a hot second here, because some analysts would say, since the presidential candidate of not just the PDP this time around, but of all political parties emerged, not a lot of attention has actually been given to offshoot elections, such as what we saw in Ekiti State and now Osun State coming up in a matter of days. So what are the strategies that the PDP is looking to come up with to really unseat the APC in Osun State? And I speak about presidential candidate. Yours is not even in the country. Neither are we seeing any major campaign for your candidate in Osun State.
By INEC timetable, the actual campaign has not started. And I think that's important for us to know. Again, you should also know that we're coming from a background of a hot contest of primaries. A good number of the aspirants before the convention were on the road. I can tell you that Governor Wike was on the road for addressing delegates in 3-4 states in one day. Atiku Abubakar was on the road addressing delegates in about 4 states in one day, and driving throughout the night. So sometimes you need to take a rest. And then most of the time also, when you're out of the country, it is not that you have gone on tourism events, but again, that you need to go and re-energize and plan on how to start the new step of elections, which is of campaigns, which is going to come up as soon as INEC says, look, you can hit the road.
Okay. I think Amaka was referring to the Osun State elections, but we have to leave this conversation here. Thank you so much, Mr. Eitayo Jekede.
Thank you very much.
Former gubernatorial candidate of the PDP in Ondo State, and of course a member of the PDP.
And
thank you so much.
Of the Reconciliation Committee for Lagos.
All right. And to more stories now from the PDP to the APC. We are ahead of the July 16th Osun State election. The governing All Progressives Congress says it will win the election fairly and squarely. The optimism was expressed by members of the Osun State Election Council when they presented the candidate, Boyega Oyetola, to President Muhammadu Buhari today at the presidential villa. Well, in the ceremonial presentation of the party flag, the president says the APC is committed to furthering the development journey of Osun State. Mr. Oyetola was accompanied by the National Secretary of the party, Senator Iyola Omisore, Chairman of the Osun Election Council and Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Co-Chairman and Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje, as well as his Niger State counterpart Abubakar Sani Bello and the Deputy National Chairman, Senator Abubakar Kyari.
There is no serious division, as it were, in APC in Osun. We have issues which is ordinarily likely to happen in any party, and we've done a lot of reconciliation. As I speak, a number of them have actually come back to join us for this coming election. So I believe we are together with them.
And when you talk about opposition, we don't even see them. They are not even campaigning. They are not anywhere, right? It's only rhetorics on social media and all of it. Nowhere in Osun State do you have any of the other contestants coming out to even canvass for vote or go around or even explain what their plans are. And so we believe in the campaign council that we have a credible candidate. We have a man that indeed has done very, very well. So he's making the job for us a whole lot easier.